our gathering. So I wanted to talk today about a couple things that you guys had brought up. Um, so this is some fun rainbow slides for our gathering. This is, I believe, week two. Is this week two? This is week two. Yeah, so sowing seeds of unity and solidarity. And I just wanted to say thank you guys for being here, and the community continues to expand. The new women who have joined, it happens to be a group of women in the course right now, but they're kind of coming into our fold, which is exciting. And I wanted to share some new content so we can still feel fresh even as we're closing out the year. And one of the things that has come across my radar a couple times, and I thought it would be worthwhile for us to chat about it, is something called the harmonic convergence. And it has a little bit of an interesting reputation online. You can find people on the news calling everybody who participated a bunch of crackpots. You can also find some interesting alignments. I don't know why the dog. I just got this party started, guys. You're gonna have to wait. So I wanted to share with you a little bit about what it is. It was, and this is why it's significant to me, and I hope you find it inspiring. It was what we know as the world's first synchronized global peace meditation. And it was said to coincide with and they called it an exceptional alignment of solar planets. I'll show you the chart in a second, and we can talk about what was happening. And Jose Arguelles and his wife, they found the Planet Art Network, and it was a peace movement founded in 1983. This event definitely took place in 1987, but what I found interesting and what I found more interesting in the chart is this middle paragraph. It says an astrologer named Neil Mickelson, sorry. He says that the alignment for the harmonic convergence is, I'm going to have to let my dog out. Sorry, I'm going to keep talking because this is going to annoy the crap out of me. He says it actually took place on August 24th. And so this is where I think it gets interesting for us to consider um, the what and the why, and why there may be some converging and differing information on the internet about this. And one of them is because of the dates and because of the astrology, and we'll talk about that. But the important part of the harmonic convergence was the idea of everybody was congregating at places that were known to be power centers. So one of the big congregations happened to take place at Mount Shasta. Another one was in Stonehenge. Another one was in Glastonbury. Another one was in Mount Fuji. So people were converging to do this global peace meditation. They did it. Hamlet, come here. I need you upstairs now. Come on, mom's in the middle of teaching. Come. So they were converging on these places. They did different meditations. They used crystal singing bowls. They did sound baths. They did all sorts of stuff. And now I want us to really quickly look. I feel like part of what's happening for me is like the dogs are winning and I am losing control. Here, look at this little chihuahua that I have to go bring inside.
You
So
sound
here's this.
great. I love this. I love the harmonic convergence.
Okay. I'm just going with the flow here. So I wanted us to check out this chart because it's on the one hand, the super duper duper big convergence that we see in this chart. What's coming for us in as a collective, when I kind of allude to in my podcast, like what's happening in astrology, we've got some even rarer alignments headed on the pike, but this is pretty cool. This is what's known as a kite. You can see it looks like a kite. We have on the left-hand side, on the ascendant, you can see Jupiter at 29 degrees of Aries, and directly across there at 3 p.m. on the clock is Pluto. And Pluto's in Scorpio, where it likes to be. Jupiter's at the anaretic degree of Aries, which is interesting because the ascendant, you see AC on that chart. That is about our I am energy. Aries is an I am sign. Jupiter at the anaretic degree of a sign is showing on that day how the shadow of the ego needs to leave, be let go of, and to turn to be able to be with the larger part of society. And DC on the at the 3 o'clock side over here, Pluto is this P at 7 degrees in Scorpio. That is Descendant is about the other. Descendant is about society at large. Descendant is about how we interact with the world. And to have Pluto, sign of death and rebirth, in Scorpio, which it rules, Scorpio is all about hidden truths. It's almost like this chart is a harbinger for the times that we live in right now. Trines, all these blue triangles that you see, those are really considered fortunate aspects. On the bottom of the chart, you see all these planets kind of down, say near 5 o'clock. The Sun, Mars, Venus, Mercury, and the Moon are all coming together, and they're all in a very tight conjunction. You can see the numbers 1, 2, 6, and 9. That's showing us that they're all very close together, and they're all in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is about being really extra detail oriented and meticulous about how we take care of ourselves, how we take care of others, being able to be of service for others. Virgo was in its shadow, almost gets too nitpicky, but in its uplifted aspect, all those details matter and it pays attention to everyone and everything. And so all of this is all conjunct, but then up at the top here, this is where the chart gets a little bit controversial. This is the chart for the 24th. If we go back to when they said it happened on the 17th to 19th, these aspects are starting to take form, but they don't all come together this tightly until this day, which may also mean that all the meditators seeded something and then the astrology sort of helped it become manifest. So up at say 2 o'clock on this chart, we have Neptune in the sign of Capricorn. And then beneath that, we have Uranus and Saturn in Sagittarius. None of those are conjunct, but those are three separate triangles all interacting with this kite formation. So people say that it wasn't that as big of a deal as all the woo-woo kooky people who are meditating made it out to be, because this is not a super duper duper tight conjunction, but it is significant in the sense that there are three kite formations, and everything down at the bottom here, down say near 5 o'clock, is super tight conjunct. Jupiter on the ascendant, Pluto on the descendant, all of that is tightly conjunct. The only things that are a little bit loosey-goosey are up here at the 2 o'clock range. Those three things are active, they're just not all together. So it's almost kind of like, it reminds me a little bit of like in herbal studies where like something starts to materialize, something starts to take place. Oh, look at this plant, elderberry. You can use it to fight a cytokine storm. You can use it to cure colds and flus. And then because it's not set in stone, it gets the kibosh put on it, and then it's get called that it doesn't work and it actually causes cytokine storms and you shouldn't use it and you should use the pharmaceutical drugs instead. So I feel like there was a little bit of that taking place with the harmonic convergence. And one of the reasons that's near and dear to my heart about this and why I think it's so important is this is our online community. Like, we're a group of people around the world who are coming together, converging to meditate and to seed change and to do so in on a platform and with technology that was never available to folks in 1984, right? And so also if you think about the podcast, that's a global meditation in and of itself. And we know all about, Lynn McTaggart's book, The Field, the work of the, I'm not talking about it here, but in past reciprocity challenges, I've brought up those peace meditations and how they actually did do something fairly significant. So I will stop here for a moment before kind of shift gears and see if anybody has any questions or anything that they happen to know about the harmonic convergence. I know about it like because two of my sort of elder people in my life, my Reiki master and another sort of just somebody who was very supportive and nurturing of me as I was pivoting away from academia and towards the life that I lived. They were like, oh yeah, I went to the harmonic convergence. Do you know what that is? And I was like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But I wonder if anybody has any questions or any experience or anything they want to comment on before we
Yeah,
sort of
I have
pivot.
a quick question about the harmonic convergence. When you said it was those four different places, were they did they do four different ones, or were people go to, like, closest for you would have been Mount Shasta? You went to Mount Shasta. Other folks were at Mount Fuji, and it was all at the same time. at these 4 different places
Oh my
that they
gosh, it
were
was
meditating?
yeah, thank you for asking me to clarify that. It was so much more than 4 different places. I only used those 4 because those were the 4 that I came across. But if we look at, I wonder if I can find some of these older videos from the 80s of these people. They're doing it in Ohio at, a Buddhist temple. There'll be 40 people. It was just this convergence of people in places that they felt were sacred spaces. And it tended to be that the more well-known a quote unquote sacred space or a power center was, the more people congregated. So the Mount Shasta one got a lot of attention because people were caravanning in from all over the place to have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people camp overnight. That wasn't always the case, but it was kind of this time where I don't, was email around in 1980s? I forget. I don't know how they did it, and how they all did it at the
No
same time.
way. No, there wasn't any
No
email in
email.
80s.
No,
No way.
no, because the internet hadn't even started. I remember I was in high school
No.
and the
Yeah.
idea, so I don't know how they got everybody to do what they did. I really
Yeah.
don't. But I do know that if
Like
you watch,
telephone.
Must have been telephone calls. It had to have been. Yeah, that's all we had. Or just announcements,
That's how I remember.
telephone.
yeah, telephone, but also announcements like posters and things put up in places at schools and wherever, colleges, wherever people were, there would be a big poster up about something.
1-800-collect.
Yeah, there
Oh my
you go.
gosh. I'm having like such strange, I do have memories of an answer machine and a telephone. So yeah. So if there's interest, I will pop a couple videos into our below the recording here if you want to watch it. It's kind of funny. It's like people in the 80s with their 80s hair doing Eve says posters. Yes. The news was the videos that they have about it is the television news, which is how people got the news, right? It was the news. So what the videos that I found of it was all just people on the news talking about it, some a little bit disparagingly, some like with a lot of enthusiasm. And it was just an interesting, I think about it. So the other thing about the harmonic convergence, okay, wait, I can't believe I forgot about this. Arguelles wrote a book or was studied the long count Mayan calendar and the Aztec calendar, and this was one of those times that was said to be the end of the calendar, the end of the world. He linked it back to Cortez's arrival in North and South America, and it was said to again. This is another one of those times. I think it was 2011 or 2012 where there was again going to be the end of the world, and this was another one of those things where like everybody gets so excited and then they're looking around the 3D world and like nothing happened. But I find the harmonic convergence interesting and I find the other I'm sorry, I forget if it's 2011 or 2012 and they're both related to the Aztec and Mayan calendars. If we think about it, everything is energy and today is a product of everything in the past, then there was an ending, there was a beginning. But of course, the physical reality is the last thing to catch up to it, right? So I find the harmonic convergence really curious because it was something that I think probably, if you think about like the beginning of the crystal grid activations or something, like a global peace meditation was probably a pretty big deal and back then. So yeah. Thank you for your question, Lucia. Anybody else have anything they want to share? All right, let's keep on going. I have one more. I said we were going to do 3 things. I think
Wait, sorry, I have a question, Lisa.
yeah, what's up?
I maybe missed this, but can you just talk a little bit about the relevance to the harmonic convergence now? Because that happened in 1987.
Yes. Um, Thank you for so the way that the harmonic convergence came about with some people who are a part of this group who are also part of the energy clearing course. And I realize that you guys here today were not a part of that conversation. So thank you for asking me why we're talking about this. We're taught the idea would be that if we think about the lens of what's going on astrologically right now, and the fact that we're going through this kind of massive kind of transformation, awakening, purge, shakedown, but empowerment kind of feels a little bit like a somersault. Um, some people would offer that if we think about the larger cycles of time, we get better clues as to what's happening today, right now. So, I talk a lot about the Yuga cycles of time, and we're at the kind of the bottom of the Yuga cycle, headed up out of the Kali Yuga into more enlightened and enhanced times, and how the sun and Sirius are binary stars, and the closer the sun gets to Sirius, Sirius is a central sun to our sun and to the center of the universe. It's an energetic transmission. So the idea would be that some of these larger cycles of time, that the Aztecs and Mayans, this is their particular cultural lens. We're talking about there's a big shift coming up around 1984 and around 2011, 2012. And so it's relevant now because I think it offers a lens as to what the heck's going on. And it offers us a bigger picture as to how and why. And I'm going to kind of pull it full circle when I loop back esoteric astrology in a second. But some of this, if we think about the idea that humanity is awakening, and I've said this in a couple times before, where I used to try to read certain books, and I would look at the book and it was some kind of esoteric spiritual text, and I just didn't have any interest, didn't really understand it, put it down, went and did something else. All of a sudden, these words in these books are I feel like the neurons are connecting. So I almost feel like those light codes, or the energy that's coming through from the cosmos, is helping us to awaken, and helping us to see the connections, and helping us to see, in our limited human perspective, the why of what's happening. So thank you for courting this idea of harmonic convergence without proper introduction as to why the heck we're even talking about it. Okay.
Hey,
Cool.
Lisa, quick question. I love that map. I get it. It's like, the universe is like spinning around us and the planets are closer. So where are we at right now as far as the planets? Like in terms of like 1, 2, 3, 4 p.m., whatever, where are we at right now? Is
Where
it
are we
all
at?
aligned? Is it a triangle? Or
No. Let me see if I can pull up a chart for us right now. I tend to think of the new moons and the full moons as the more significant events, but where we're at in general, and as to where the planets are, let me talk a little bit and see if I can get an image to share. Al, this is a really great question. So one of the things that's happening for us right now, and it began just before November. No, it began a couple years ago. Pluto transitioning out of Capricorn into Aquarius. The outer planets are doing something. I mentioned the configuration, that kite shape, and how that was said to be a very special configuration, and then how some really super technical scientific astrologists poo-pooed it. And then there's some configurations coming between now and 2026. There's some neat things happening, and one of the major powerful things is all of the outer planets are changing signs. This is a once in like 10,000 year situation to have some of these alignments happen. But outer planets, I like to say, outer planets always win, because outer planets they're transpersonal planets. They're subtle energetic planets. Let's take for an example, an inner planet, a personal planet would be Mercury. Everybody loves to talk about Mercury retrograde and, oh my God, my phone and blah, blah. And it's kind of almost too mundane. Uranus, outer planet, transpersonal planet, subtle energy, is the higher octave of Mercury. Uranus reminds us that we are the high technology we seek. We are the broadcaster. So when Uranus is changing signs, this is a once in many, many, many hundreds of years situation. Mercury changes signs all the time. Mercury is a very fast moving planet. So when these transpersonal planets change sign, they're known as generational planets because what they do is only experienced once every several hundred years. So it has an effect on the collective more so than on the individual. And one of the things so we have in between earlier this year, all the way through 2026, we have this kind of shakeup, but I don't think we need to be scared of it. It's just it's like moving to a different country. The planet is moving from one theme into another theme, and that's happening with 4 or 5 of the planets, which means we're going through a time as a collective on the planet that we've never experienced before, and we're going through times of massive change. Does that relate a little bit?
Yes, yes, and yeah, I was imagining, as we spin through through the universe and the tales of the universe, and yeah, I mean, it changes quite a bit. So the planets, it's more of a daily type thing. So, but I understand what you're saying about the outer planets being, having certain alignments in the next, couple years. I get it. I think.
Yeah, and so let me really quickly go back to the picture, and then we'll kind of loop it back to maybe this will make a little bit of
Yeah, I mean, I know it's it's a lot of knowledge that I don't have to learn everything right now, but I'm starting to get it more. Yeah, I love it.
yeah.
I see
So
how the outer planets are more subtle. Yeah.
and one of the things that was cool about this particular chart, if we're talking about which planets are personal and which planets are transpersonal, the tightest conjunction down there at 5 o'clock, those are all the personal planets. The Sun, Mars, Venus, Mercury, the Moon. Those are all the 3D planets. Those are the 3D energy planets. Everything else, this Pluto over here at 3 o'clock, outer planet. Jupiter over here at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock, transpersonal planet. All these planets up here at top at 2 o'clock. So the things that were getting criticized are actually, I think, the things that are more powerful in this chart. And they were all kind of activating everything else that's together down here at like 5 o'clock. So that's one of the reasons why I kind of was alluding to the fact that this may have been a little bit of a foreshadowing as to what we're beginning to experience as a collective right now. And I talk about this in my podcast as like, this is the time, these next 2 years are the time for us to lean in. Even if there's no evidence, we get to remember that we are the change. We get to remember that today is a product of everything before. And if these next 2 years are the most fertile ground, but it's also the time where it's going to feel chaotic because the structures are going to be shaking and changing and shifting. We know that needs to happen. So that means that the little things that we do have the potential to have a much larger effect. By 2026, this potent time of anything goes, anything is possible, there's going to be a lot more structures that are going to have coalesced by 2026, which is why I find our gatherings and our group fabulous and right on time too. So
Yeah, yeah. And sorry, I'm correcting myself. We're in the tails of the galaxy, not the universe. The tails of our galaxy, and all these stars we're seeing, Aquarius, all that is on this galaxy. So, anyways.
well, this is interesting because I wanted to bring up, I wanted to share this quote. This is from a woman who she wanted to teach me astrology. She's astrologer to the stars in Palm Springs. All the Hollywood people go to her. She's in Order of the Magi. And I ended up kind of realizing that I wanted to maybe read her books, but not learn from her. But I'm going to share with you just something really quickly that she wrote that I find interesting. The age of Aquarius is revealing. The age of Aquarius is the revealing of all knowledge. Ancient mysteries and esoteric knowledge, 45% of the scriptures in the Bible are in astrophysics code. Most of your modern day ministers don't carry or know this knowledge to teach their followers. This knowledge was kept secret from the secret order of the Magi that announced Christ's birth. It would not be revealed until this time, according to Daniel 12, 4-9. And then she goes on to share a passage of Job in the Bible, which I find interesting. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a nun. We don't have to talk about the story now, but I wrote the Bible back and forth like 3 times. And so Job is an interesting space. And I didn't realize that this was in the Bible because I think I probably stuck to the New Testament. I was Catholic. But so Job 38, verse 31. Canst thou bind the sweet influences of the Pleiades or lose the binds of Orion? I find this really interesting because if we think about the hidden information being right there in front of us, and now for those of us who have eyes to see, for those of us who are like the energies that are coming through are enabling us to make these connections. And she says about this verse 31, our whole planet's solar system rotates around the Pleiades solar system. We are one solar system inside another, the Pleiades. The bands of Orion are the belt that keeps the 12 constellations together, that keep the zodiac in place. The 12 constellations are in a fixed circular position due to Orion's belt, exactly 30 degrees apart from each other, also known in astrophysics as the pearls of Orion, which starts and ends at the location of the Great Pyramids of Egypt. It is also known as the seventh key when the Pleiades align with all other cycles every 206 million years. And then I'm going to share one more quote. So this is Job. That was Job 38:31. Job 38:32 says, "Canst thou bring forth Mazzaroth in his season, or canst thou guide Arcturus with his sons?" Her comment is, the word Mazzaroth is a Greek word for constellations, the different zodiac signs of the months and the moon phases brought to us in seasons. The zodiac signs and moon give directions on the way that we move. It's said that they have dominion over the planets and the people through psychic vibrations. And Arcturus, she doesn't talk about Arcturus, but Arcturus is a fixed royal star that's known to bring good fortune and good luck. And if you guys have ever listened to me blather on about the pyramids of Egypt and how the Orion's belt is aligned to the pyramids of Egypt and the star shafts, and those were transmissions from the priests and the priestesses, I love that it's in the Bible too, which is so cool. It's so cool. And I was talking to somebody yesterday how, I can't wait till we find all the other books of the Bible that talk about the things that I think about the idea that Jesus was a kid when I knew him in the Bible, and then Jesus was an adult going through his rite of passage in the Bible. And then all the things that he did in the middle, all the herbalism, all the energy healing, all the stuff that he learned from the Magi's, all that esoteric wisdom that enabled him to do the thing that he said everyone else could do, which was to ascend. The how-to is somehow curiously left out of the modern Bible. But I think what's interesting is we're waking up to it anyhow, because the information is just coming through. The information that was potentially hidden or destroyed can never be destroyed. So that's what I find exciting about this. Okay, let's go to solar flares next. This was a conversation that I think came out of the Lunar Herbal Alchemy monthly gatherings. We were talking about how some astrologers have said that we're going through a period of solar flares that is unlike anything that's ever been seen before. And I got so excited when I heard a couple people say this, but then I put on my like NASA researcher hat, and I wanted to share with you a little bit about what's actually happening now, because some people will say this is it's part of why everything feels so chaotic. I would like to offer a little bit more grounded situation here. So here is background info from UCR Center of Science Education. Says that solar flares come from intense magnetic fields in the vicinity of active regions of the sun and are most common during peak times of solar activity. We'll talk about what that is in a moment. NOAA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Institute, solar flares are the result of the sun's 11-year solar cycle. Every 11 years, there's a solar cycle. We'll get to that in a second. Also known as the sunspot cycle, the magnetic activity cycle. The frequency of solar flares increases as the sun approaches the most active phase of its 11-year cycle. It's typically right in the middle. NOAA, NASA, and the Solar Cycle Prediction Panel on the right announced this year, just a couple months ago, on October 15th, that the sun has reached its peak maximum period for our current 11-year cycle. So this got me to thinking, why all the hype about what's going on right now? And they were right, but I want us to have another perspective on it. I want to offer another perspective on it. This comes from the Royal Observatory in Belgium in Brussels. So this is the 3-year look at the solar activity. So you can see there's these kind of, the vertical lines are the 11-year solar cycles. So you can see over here on the right-hand side that we have had a lot more activity than the last solar cycle. and that if we're at the peak right now in the middle, the far right-hand corner, this is a more active solar cycle than 11 years ago, maybe about as active as the one right in the middle, solar cycle 23. But what becomes interesting when we look at this is the 5-year cycle. The cycle over here that we're in on the right isn't quite as active as well, it is more active than the last one, but the other ones that were precursors had more solar flares, more solar activity. Solar flares are one of the main ways that scientists document solar activity. They're interested in it because it impacts our technology, it impacts our radio communications, it impacts all sorts of things technological, which is why the government's interested in it. But it also impacts us because we're energetic beings. So now let's go to the 10-year cycle. And when you look at the 10-year cycle, this is why I was going to talk about this on my podcast, but I didn't really feel like it was personally that exceptional. If we look at in 1960, solar cycle 19 has a heck of a lot more solar activity than we have right now. That doesn't mean that we're not going through very powerful times, but it just means that the solar cycle activity might not be the most noteworthy thing. So then look at this one. This is all the data that they can get for sunspots from 1750. And if we go there, in my opinion, the graph kind of shows us that we're in a relatively normal, maybe even kind of mundane period for solar cycle activity. And then if we look at this particular cycle, this is where we're at right now. We're on our way into a decrease in solar cycle activity. So this is kind of maybe a more mundane way to talk about it, but I feel like I'll stop my share here for a second just to see what folks are thinking. But I feel sometimes like it's good for us to kind of feel into what feels true for us. So I offered all that information because I don't think personally that I want to worry about intense solar activity. I think there's other kinds of energetic transmissions that are coming through that might be those energetic transmissions might be more potent or something like that, if that makes sense.
I have a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Can you talk about the galaxy within the galaxy?
Yes, but I think I want to do that with the foundation of astrology, because I think one of the ways for us to think about planetary alignments and planetary influences is to maybe have a look at the why for astrology and the why for astronomy. And even also, so the solar flare stuff, Vanessa, you're just here, and I think you were the one that suggested the solar cycle stuff, and I just gave a presentation on it. So I'll send you the slides so that you have it if you need it. Was it you that brought that up? Yes. Okay. Yeah, so the galaxy within the galaxy. So the idea would be, I don't know that I'm prepared to talk about it right now.
Okay, so it's okay. No, so are you doing the astrology course? Because as you're talking about the connections, I feel like that's what's starting to happen to me with astrology. Like before I was like, I can't touch this. When you would show the map, I just wouldn't even be able to look at it.
Yeah, I'm doing it in January, Astrology 101, and then I'm doing 102, and then I think I'm going to do an esoteric astrology course. There's some really cool old books that I am aware of because of the teacher that I didn't quite train with, but she's a legit person, and I find esoteric astrology even more my jam because that's like where it's like, oh, the Bible talks about it. Oh, let's connect some more of those dots, and then, oh, it's related to the pyramids in Egypt. Oh, yeah, that makes sense. Also, kind of like maybe showing the what I understand to be the available information about solar flares, we're also going to look at the way that astrology has and hasn't progressed. So one of the things with astrology is kind of like our calendar right now. We live with a Gregorian calendar imposed by Pope Gregory, whoever the number he was, for the purposes of taxation for Rome, right? And then the word July comes from Julius Caesar, and August comes from Augustus Caesar, and they both wanted more days in the month, so they stole them from February, which is why there's not enough days in the month in February, and none of that has anything to do with lunar cycles or solar cycles, right? There's a little bit of that going on in astrology too. So I think astrology is really powerful, and the alignments are really cool, but we're also going to kind of explore the like how the charts maybe relate to the placements of the planets in the sky. Because part of the ways, for example, say that Orion's belt aligns up with Egypt, was everything that they used to do prior to technology. Now we're going to be plugging in numbers and pushing a computer button and getting all the math done for us. My astrology teacher had to do the equations, had to do the calculations, had to do all the hand stuff. So it's going to be kind of we're going to lean on tech a little bit, but we're going to go into the history of it and the why of it. So that is part of what's up. And then I wanted to also share about negative ions, but I didn't really go ahead. Yes.
Is Sirius in Orion's belt? Because
Yes.
when you talk about the star shaft, it's Sirius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so, unless I'm making something up. Well, no, wait. No. Let me find a picture. There are 4 star shafts, 2 in the king's chamber, 2 in the queen's chamber. And they each aligned according to different why is my computer not working? They each aligned to different stars at different times of the year. Sirius, this is of course the perfect time when my computer does not want to work. So just give me a second to find a picture because it'll help with us talking about this. I want to find one that has all of them labeled. Oh,
It's
here's
okay
one.
if this
Okay.
isn't, we don't have to zoom in on this right now if it's not important.
So
Interrupters.
what I wanted to show, it's a really small picture, but Sirius is directly related to the stars in Orion's belt, but it is not the stars in Orion's belt. Here's a picture. I wanted to just show it because it's easier to show it. But they're also, I wonder if it makes sense to me that they're possibly related. Wait, what am I sharing? Sorry, guys. It makes sense to me that they're related because if you look at this image. So speaking of technology advancements, I'm going to take a pause and invite you guys to pat me on the back for I now have 2 working laptops so that we're never going to have an experience where my World Trade Center coach was like, if you're trying to work 100% remotely, why are you only having the tiniest MacBook in the world? And why are you surprised that it breaks down? And I was like, good point, World Trade Center coach. Okay, here. Do you see how they point directly to Sirius? So they're directly related, but it's not the stars in Orion's belt. That's what I wanted to share with you. And yay for me for having 2 computers now. I'm so steeped in luxury up here. Okay, so we're about 15 minutes before the hour. We could talk about negative ions. I wanted to talk about negative ions because that was another thing that folks brought up. I don't have a pretty presentation prepared for it, but we can chat about it if you want to, or we can just chat, or we can do a meditation. So you guys tell me which way you want to steer this boat. I vote meditation. Okay, let's do meditation. I think that's a good idea. I'm gonna bring us back to the tree meditation, just because the negative ions thing, we'll get to that next Sunday. I wanted to find some like National Institute of Health research, and also some of the more like research that gets disempowered because it's not scientifically based, and have us kind of tease through it. And I think that's something we can definitely do next week. But this week, if we're looking at the slides, it's for reciprocity week 2. Guess what is known to generate negative ions? These guys. Yay, being out in nature is known to generate negative ions. Rushing water, flowing water, lightning storms, things like that. We're gonna kind of gloss over this. We're with the element fire this week, as we're gathering all the elements in our medicine wheel to go move through this month. And we know that trees are extra intelligent. I'm going to skip over all this idea of all the ways that they communicate and adapt, and we're going to go right to a tree meditation, and maybe start to in higher realms receive some negative ions just for doing this meditation. So let's go ahead and close our eyes. Close your eyes and just feel the energy of now. Feel the energy of this gathering. Feel the energy of this circle. Feel the energy of you, of everything that was happening before your day, everything after. And as you exhale, see if you can let all the distraction and all the chatter release with your out breath. And as you breathe in, now, again, right here, right now, more now. And as you breathe out, releasing everything that came before, releasing all the attachments to what's going on in a little bit. So inhaling, we're just calling all of our energy here. Exhaling anything that is not that. So the goal here is to get 100% of our consciousness, our energetic self, and our physical self now. Now, 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 now. And just breathing. And as you're breathing in this now moment, feel your heart beating inside your chest. Maybe notice the temperature of the air in the room or outside where you're at. Maybe also feel the air entering your nose, moving down the back of your throat, filling your lungs. And I'm going to invite you to breathe in through your nose and exhale through your mouth. And imagine that you're standing in this is a picture of a bamboo forest, I believe. So the cool thing about bamboo forests is they're often temperate climates. So for those of us who might be in a winter experience, you can imagine maybe even being barefoot outside, surrounded by this bamboo forest. And if you've ever been in a bamboo forest, it can be a little bit overwhelming because the bamboo grows so close together. But it's almost like zeros and ones in code. There's this space, and then there's this bark, this space and this bark. So you can just feel like there's this universe. You're surrounded by limitless amounts of these bamboo reeds. And with your feet in the ground, allow yourself to be rooted. Notice the temperature of the soil. Notice the moisture in the soil. And as you breathe in, there's this sweetness to the air, that sweetness that is slightly moist, super fresh air, nothing but Mother Nature purity. So breathe that in right now. Maybe just allow yourself to take a nice deep breath in, and as you exhale, again, the exhale's anything that is not that. Breathing in again. So these are invigorating and cleansing breaths. And exhaling. And as you breathe in, you can imagine that you're breathing in the negative ions, the fresh air. It's the exhale of the trees. And as you breathe out, your exhale is going to be their inhale. So start to just merge with this bamboo forest or grove or vast expanse of bamboo trees. And feel how nature sees you. Every single one of these plant spirits is breathing with you now. Giving you fresh air, giving you fresh energy, giving you those cleansing negative ions. And your exhale is just the opportunity to release. Bring your awareness to your heart and see if you can allow your heart to open out the front and the back of you. And to just be in your heart breath with this bamboo grove. And the color here is just verdant, beautiful green, which is the color of the heart chakra. So receive and send this green energy from your heart. Receive it from the bamboo plants and trees, send it out from your heart. And maybe in your mind's eye, take a look down at your bare feet on the earth. And start to feel and know that you're spreading energetic roots down and out through this super fertile soil. Feel yourself seen and known and held by the roots of all the other bamboo trees. And send one root right down through your root chakra, right down to the center of Mother Earth. And as soon as you touch her center, she's your mother. She sends you nourishing light up through that root, up into your being. Bring that light up into your heart. Let it merge, the light from Mother Earth, her core, maybe orange light is merging with the green light in your heart. And now look up above you. Look up above you, just as this picture shows, up to the sky, up through those leaves. And connect with the things that we likely cannot see with the naked eye. The vast cosmos of stars and planets and asteroids, each of them carrying their own energetic signature and intelligence and understanding about the why and the how and the who of the universe, and beaming down to you as you're looking up into your third eye. The precise downloads for you to continue to awaken, to continue. The third eye is that inner knowing, that seeing beyond reality, seeing beyond the physical. So imagine you're just getting this download that's precisely for you from all the stars up above. Your heart is open to the bamboo forest. Your feet are rooted. You're connected to Mother Earth. And now you're just getting this beam of energy supporting you with the precise thumbprint that is you in this time that we can all feel collectively is a very potent time. Receive that light. receive that energy, receive that information. And just like the harmonic convergence and those times where we may not be able to put the dots together in the 3D world, trust and know that this is happening. You're receiving this light, this energy, this upgrade. To support you in knowing and experiencing yourself as an energetic being, as a creative creator. And we'll just spend a few more breaths here, just like this. And then start to imagine that there's all of us who are gathered in circle right now live. I think there's about 6 or 7 of us. And there's all of us, 30 plus some who will come later. But now we're starting to, even though this bamboo grove is pretty tensely forested, we're able to sense this larger circle of our community, of all of these sparks, soul sparks of individuals who are practicing this with us in this bamboo forest. Rooted down, looking up, open hearts, breathing with the forest. And start to feel the power of community, of the circle, as it merges with the forest. And then when you're ready, we're going to slowly start to bring ourselves back to our gathering. But it's one of the things that's come through for me recently, and I like to offer, if this is something that just feels really good, invite some aspect of yourself, some higher dimensional aspect of yourself, to stay in this circle, to stay in this grove, to stay third eye open to the stars, feet rooted into the earth. So that's always available. And then just slowly start to bring yourself back to our gathering here today. All right. Thank you guys. Does anybody have anything they want to share?
Super powerful. I'm glad we did it. So yeah, I felt like as my, like I wanted to be outside of my body completely. Like I've been reading about, kind of like just being, the spiritual world or our souls can, it's almost like the body's it's restraining our spirit, and we're limited to think because of what we need to deal with in 3D. However, it's good to be grounded. You kept, you know, like I love I like being guided down to being grounded. But then as we went up, I keep like connecting more with like upwards than to the earth for some reason. And then I felt like I got some downloads, but the download was very convoluted. So maybe another time I can share the download, but it was really good. So
I would
thank
love
you.
for you to share another time. Make a note of that and do it. That'd be
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah. And I also felt like kind of like the unity and love of the group. And with the trees too. And then as I was like exiting that, then I felt it was all, we were all, not in 3D together.
I find it really neat that one of the things we're instinctually being sort of nudged to do right now is to be connected together in ways that we've always been in theory, but we've never known about, and we've never been motivated in the way that we're motivated right now. It feels very palpable. Like when I'm hearing you talking, it's like, yeah, that is of the now. That is what's up. That is the order of the day, right? That is the nature of what I think all of us are receiving. So thank you for articulating that. I love it. And I feel now, I guess I'll just kind of share, it's interesting that every time you read a book again, you get something different from it you're different. So what you get from it is different. And even when we were talking about the pyramids of Egypt and the connection to the stars, I just feel like there's so much more coming through right now. And to have this stuff from this astrology woman, just kind of, I forgot that I had all this documentation from her, and I was getting ready to teach this course, and I was like, oh, it's in the Bible. So I love that it's one of those things. It's like, of course the sacred knowledge was, in theory, tended by that was who the magi were. That's who the teachers were. That's what the priests were supposed to be doing, right? It was like empowering and enlightening and supporting people to become enlightened. So I love that we're sort of on this quest together. The reciprocity challenge is that we're seeking to be the change, right? We're seeking to do the right thing at the right time right now. So I am so grateful for you guys. I think that this has been a stellar first couple months. If anything, it's blown my mind and exceeded my expectations. And I feel I'm really excited for next year too. So anybody else have anything else they want to share? It's right about 1 o'clock.
Yeah, I do.
Mhm.
I feel like I just was able to access a place of really deep trust in that meditation. So thank you for that experience.
Thank you for calling it forth. It's one of those things that I think, to get back to Al's point, I think it's the order of the day. It's one of those things that just feels like, yeah, that's where we need to go right now. We're not going to wander around like chickens with our heads cut off, screaming and worrying and moaning and crying. Like, that's a bunch of nonsense. Like, let's get together, let's get things done. Let's do the things we're here to do, right? And I find that very exciting, but then also the practices and the people and the community are where the container is. They keep us nourished and safe space and feedback loops to process together what's happening. So yeah, thank you guys. I'll put a recording up, and I'll put the slides up too, for those of you who may have missed the stuff about the I know Vanessa wanted to know about the whatever it was I was talking about. Oh, the solar flares. Yeah. All
I
right.
see Hammy in the back. He looks so cute.
Yeah, he's so funny. I think all the dogs right now, I'm going through a phase where I am not in control. Like, he's just like, I'm barking at the door and you need it. And I'm like, I'm glad you think this is cute. I think it's cute too. Sometimes I find it. Yeah, he's ready to go outside. All right, guys. Happy Sunday.
Thank
I'll see you
you.
next week. Thank you. Take care.